Welcome into the State of Michigan podcast. We have a lot to cover for this week, starting with the NBA draft. I'm here with Jaren. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too shabby on this Friday afternoon.
Before we get into too much detail here, I wanted to ask every single one of you, if you guys are listening to this on YouTube, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe for more content. And let us know your thoughts on this podcast in the comments below. And if you're over at our podcast, whether it's on Spotify or Apple, make sure you guys leave a review of what you guys think about our product that we're putting out for you guys every single week. That being said, I want to get into the NBA draft. And there's a lot of rumors, of course, swirling like there is with any draft. The latest is who the Detroit Pistons are going to draft. Ozar Thompson, I think that's how you say his first name. I might be
Mhm.
mistaken. I know the S is a little tricky, but Ozar Thompson, he canceled his visit with the Pacers, who are picking number 7, leading many to believe either the Pistons or the Hornets have made a draft promise to this young kid. I have heard a lot of reports saying it's the Pistons over the Hornets who made this promise. So that being said, I did some digging into this kid. Of course, I haven't seen too much of him. I don't think many people have because he played with the Overtime Elite for this team called City Reapers. And I just don't think most of our following really watches the Overtime Elite. I think a lot of us follow college basketball. So I wanted to do some digging for those who may know, because there's a lot of people in that Cam Whitmore stands, and I think a lot of that was because he played for Villanova, so it was a familiar team, familiar name, and you always want the big name. But the Pistons are going the opposite direction, a guy we haven't seen much of. So I wanted to cover some of his game. He's 6'7", 20 years old. He's basically a sophomore. He spent 2 years over at with the Overtime Elite. He averaged 16.3 points, 7.1 rebounds, 6.1 assists, 2.4 steals. The competition, I personally believe, is a little less over there compared to college.
Probably.
So I take some of those numbers with a grain of salt, mainly like the steals. I wouldn't expect him to come averaging 2.5 steals, but if he can be half that in the NBA, maybe getting 1 steal per game, of course that's great. The vision with the assist, that I also don't know how easily it's going to come. The thing that standed out with me with Thompson was honestly the 3 and D scoring, the ability to hit the 3 and drive to the basket. Kind of reminded me of like Sadiq Bey, but I think he's a step ahead of what Sadiq Bey was when he was coming in as a rookie. Um, Able to knock down the 3 ball, create for himself, get to the basket. When Bay originally got here, he was purely just a 3-point shooter, and then he squared up and played some defense. I think we get a little bit more with this kid, and if he's a guy we can plug in at the 4-3, I really think that's great news for this team.
Yeah, definitely. Build young cores. Obviously, a lot of people probably haven't heard of. I know I hadn't even heard of the Overtime League or even this kid's name, but it's on the guys at the staff. If they trust him, if he's had a good combine, if they're liking what they're seeing, if you can complete him in a lineup that makes the team a more whole team, it's going to make him better. I'm willing to see with experiments. I mean, you're playing with the 5, you're really going to get something average anyway, because you're not getting that 1 or even a 2. You're gonna have to work with somebody anyway. And if they feel like this guy has a certain skill set that works with the team and how they view their future, it's worth, I guess, drafting him.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what you were saying is this kid is also super athletic. There's a lot of ways you can use athleticism
Hmm.
in the NBA,
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting because I want to see him get a little bigger. Um, when you're plugged in at that 3, because right now he's about the size of Cade Cunningham, around that, a little bit taller, but he's doesn't have as much muscle on him in my opinion, and I'd like to see him put more muscle on in that in the off season, maybe get maybe not quite the Paul George build, but a little bit thicker. Um, just so that you have the capability of backing some guys down and getting your way when you try driving to the rim, because his athleticism is very, very, very elite in my opinion. it's some next level stuff, and I can't wait to see it in the NBA. And before I knew this kid, because I only knew the name, I'd seen
Hmm.
it brought up, but I hadn't actually looked into, the film till today. And I was impressed with what I saw. And now that I've seen some of that, before I was saying Cam Whitmore, but honestly, I really do like this Thompson kid. He brings excitement. He has the exciting it, kind of like that Jaden Ivey it.
Hmm.
He has that where he can put someone on a highlight reel, and we of course in Detroit we want wins, but that stuff also keeps you entertained. So
Hmm.
I look forward to seeing that in Detroit. And the biggest thing that honestly sticked out to me was the age. And some people might be upset, oh, we're not getting that new like fresh freshman, that elite freshman. But honestly, the Detroit Pistons are so young. I don't even mind that we're getting a 20-year-old who I still think has a lot of potential. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm actually kind of happy he's a little older. Maybe his maturity is going to be a little farther down the road than a guy like Scoot Henderson. I don't personally know anything about Scoot Henderson's personality, so that's not a shot at all. But I'm just saying this guy is older, so maybe the maturity is going to be farther down the road than some of these other young guys.
Yeah, I think with any prospect, you're really looking at obviously talent, but also coachability. Because if you can work with the kid and, mold him into the player you want him to be, and he's willing to do that, he's willing to make changes, willing to adapt for the team, that's only good things. And if personalities, it's all a big thing in the NBA. If you have a good personality mesh, plus a kid that's willing to learn, get better, and mold himself into this NBA player that maybe he wasn't in this league, but the player how they want to use him. If you got kids that are willing to do that, I think that's the biggest thing, especially with any guy you're trying to pick up in a draft. I think those are huge check marks that you are going to want to find in a kid. If he's coachable, obviously you want him to have a good personality. You don't want bad personalities mixing in locker rooms. But the big thing I think is if he's coachable, I'd love any pick.
Yeah, of course. And you like you were saying, you got to have guys who will do what it takes to win. I think the Pistons now have a head coach in Monty Williams who's going to get this kid right. He's going to get this kid ready. Just like he's going to get Cade Cunningham ready, just like he's going to get Jaden Ivey ready. I think the Pistons could have an entertaining basketball season next year. Now I ain't talking like anything spectacular, but maybe they make some noise and get a play in, and you know, you got something entertaining to watch at least for a little bit come postseason. And you never know. You look at the Miami Heat this year. Yes, they have an amazing coach and they have that star that was able to get hot and lead to whatever. But you never know what Cade Cunningham or Jaden Ivey. You never know that next step for those kind of players. You look at guys somewhere like Jason Tatum, the big step they made from year one to year two, I believe. He had a big year two step. Then you also had Luka Doncic. I believe he had a huge year two step.
Mhm.
So you look at other players, these big steps do happen. So I think this season could be entertaining and they could be challenging for a play-in spot. Um, that being said, I want to go from one Detroit team to another Detroit team.
Oh,
We got the Tigers. Their season was over. Last time we talked, and we all know what happened the last time we said their season was over. They all suddenly became a good ball club.
a
Then we
good
dis
team, yeah.
yeah, then we disappeared for like a long time, like a month and a half, 2 months maybe. I don't even know.
Yeah, we did.
And then we came back
They
to
sucked again.
declare they're good. They're good, but they might not suck if they can stay afloat with Riley Green
Mhm.
hurt.
Mhm.
Then they lost 9 in a row. We declared they sucked again, and now since that podcast, they might be 500
You know,
again. They might be 500, but Torkelson's turning the tide.
mhm.
And I know you got the numbers up over there, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
let you talk about Tork.
Well, look, I think it's vindictive is just to go back a little bit. The losing streak, not fun. And they weren't doing anything right. They weren't really pitching great, but even when they were, the hitting just wasn't there. And I think what we've seen, at least since maybe a little bit of the Arizona series is the offense starting to find a little bit of life. Bierling came back recently off the IL, and not that he's a huge bat or anything, but he's done well since he came back. When hitters come back, and Kerry Carpenter came back, by the way, when
Yeah,
you
he's
have
been
good
kind of
hitters,
cold though.
yeah, he did come back though, and I will say in that Arizona series, and he was 3 for 4, 3 for 4, 3 for 4. So
Since
maybe
then though, he's been kind of cold.
true. But we'll take it because it seemed to have ignited something in some of these guys that maybe we can hit like this guy. And they all started hitting like Carey, and then Carey disappeared. But I digress. Um, the offense has started been playing a little bit better. They've been scoring more runs. You've seen them. They beat the Twins yesterday as the recording of this episode. They didn't beat the Braves all but one time. Obviously, the comeback game, which is huge. But they played well offensively, and the pitching's beat up right now. I really don't. I'm not mad at that, uh, but it was the offense that I was mad at. And now that they're doing their job and they're starting to score more runs, doing what they do, it feels like they can turn the tide a bit, or at least have the chance to, especially when you're playing the first place team right now in a series. And back to Torque, yes, he has turned on a bit. He hit that walk off and had a home run in the same game. In his last 7 games, he has 2 homers, 6 RBIs, 10 hits, only 5 strikeouts to 6 walks. He's got that average up at 357 for his last 7. And he's bringing up, I believe, I think it's somewhere near the 240s now overall for the season. Um,
Yeah, I think it's 237 to be honest.
yeah, yeah.
I looked at it recently.
Because he was trending downwards towards almost going to,
It's 220 again.
yeah, yeah. So it's a small sample size, and obviously I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, he's back, he's 100% back, because that'd be crazy to do. But if he can continue to keep doing what he's doing, he'll be on the path we thought he'd be. Because those 2 home runs that he hit were moonshots, and they were in places where he just hadn't been hitting them. He's been getting those pitches all year long. He's been fouling them off or swinging and missing right through them. This time he gets on top of it, and they're working with him every day. But it's just one of those things that we needed to see. We need to see the progression from this team. We needed to see Torque be better, Green take the next step, and Green was taking the next step before his injury, but Torque was kind of sitting there like, okay, he's a little better, but kind of the same. And if he continues to play like his last 5 games, we can say, all right, he's progressing, and have a better idea of what he'll be in the future. Because there's a lot of talk, a lot of chatter about the bust word, him being a bust in the first overall, and I was almost on board with that. And then of course, as soon as they make those claims, he starts to go off. So I don't know, maybe it's something in the water, but I felt like the offense has been doing a little bit better these past 5 games. We'll see if they can continue that tonight versus the Twins. Obviously, this series with the Twins now, and they'll play 3 more games in Detroit the following weekend, are huge. It's really going to determine, are they going to really be competitive, or are we going to sell some big pieces? So it'll be interesting to see what they continue to do.
So I have a quick question for you, and what does Torque's numbers have to look like for you to consider him not a bust? Like,
Well, I
if
think
he averaged this the rest of his career, you would be happy with Torque.
I think you're looking for above league average for right now is what I want to see this season. So I want him to see to turn for this season, say, oh, he's not a bust. Uh, I want to continue to see home run power. So I want him to hit, you
What's
know,
above average though?
well, I guess it depends on which category you're looking at. Like above average in,
Like,
on base plus slugging.
We know what Torque is. Like, we know what kind of player.
Right.
He's your first baseman. He's supposed to bring power.
Yeah.
Like, what numbers do you want to see from him as a dude who should be hitting in your 3 or 4 slot as you've drafted him to be? What numbers do you need to see?
I want to see the average, upper 200s, around 300 level. I kind of want to see the home runs in the mid to upper 20s, if not 30s, at least minimum. Obviously, you can have better seasons. I mean, look at guys like Aaron Judge.
Mhm.
Um, RBIs up there near maybe the 80s, 90s, depending. That's all dependent on the rest of the team too. But
Yeah.
You want to see those power numbers, those extra base hits, the on base plus slugging, the slugging percentages. You want to see those all elevated to above league average. So I think if he can be in plus that even he needs. I think power is the big thing we're looking for him because you draft a
Yeah.
guy. He comes out of college, Arizona State. He's known as a slugger. We're told he can hit, he can hit, he can hit, and it's not just an Avila thing because everybody was going to draft him first overall. It was kind of like the obvious pick. So you have a guy come in with that expectation of power, and these first 2 years he's been kind of disappointing. It's been one thing that he hasn't done. He hasn't hit for power, and I know that when he gets a hold of him, he can really get a hold of him. It's just about him doing that. And if he's not bringing power to the equation, he's no different than, let's say, a Jake Rogers right now.
Yeah, but if
Um,
he's hitting that average, then he's actually no different than Riley Green.
and that's fair. I think both have, but I think there was
But
less
that,
expectation with Green.
yeah,
I
I
think,
get it. I get that. But that's why I just wanted to. I asked that question because I've actually digressed a little bit as
mhm,
far as labeling Torque a bust. Because
yeah,
whether like the first overall pick in the MLB is just kind of weird to me. Like so many guys don't work out. That's why there's 20 some rounds. And I feel like the first overall pick in the MLB is way less valuable than the first overall pick in any other draft in any other sport. Um, so I've digressed a little bit. You definitely should be getting a very solid player with that pick, though.
mhm,
So for me, I want to see a 250 batting average or above, but like 250 to 255. And
okay.
I want to see his average home runs to be 30. So,
Yeah. If
maybe
he's
one
batting
year he has
250,
25, maybe the next year he has 35, and the next year he has 30. I just want that average to be at 30. Because once again, the sport is more than just hitting, although it's very valuable and we need him to be doing it. And that's why I feel like those numbers are reasonable. But what he brings on the defensive side, as far as his range, being a skinnier dude, and his ability to scoop those balls that Baez be thrown in the dirt, although one did get away from Torque last night.
yeah.
Um, that's also like super valuable and has to be built into him as a player and what he can do for your team. So that's why I just see the average being 250. I see, especially if he's a four hitter, the four hitter on any team tends to not, have the best batting average, but he hits for power. And I think if he's averaging about 40, I mean, not 40, 30 across his career, maybe he does have that anomaly 40 home run year, but then his
Mhm.
other years, he's usually at like 27. Um, I think that would still be looked as, a successful career and not necessarily bust because I think if you have a player putting up those numbers, you have a chance to win as long as you keep putting pieces around these guys. And you're not breaking the bank on him either. So, like, it's not like oh, yeah, I paid this guy 40 mil, so I need him to perform like Miguel Cabrera. Like, no,
Well,
it's not like he's breaking the bank on you, so you can't go get guys in free agency like Carlos Correa or whatever, or maybe even Javier Baez.
we don't like that guy.
So,
Guy's infuriating to watch, I swear.
well, you got another 5 years of him,
4 years? Yeah,
4
there's no
years.
way he opts out. I mean,
Because if he opts in, there's another five, right?
it's four,
It
I
was,
believe. I thought.
I
I
thought it
think
was
it's
a
6 year.
7 year deal. The
I thought it
first
was 6 year.
two were kind of like whatever.
I thought it was a 6 year
I don't.
deal.
I don't even know. I thought it was 7.
I hope it's not 7. I'm gonna go with my gut instinct and say 6 just for my sanity here. But
Okay.
yeah,
I
I think
don't. Do you got anything else you want to say about this team right now?
I think we're gonna learn about what they're made of here. I mean, if they get like destroyed by the Twins in these next few games, I mean, it's season over. I mean, it'd be just a verification of what we kind of knew. But they can make it interesting if they just continue to play well offensively. If the pitching can just do their small part, keep them in the game, and the offense can continue to roll. Um, who knows what can happen? I mean, baseball is a crazy long season. There's so many ups and downs. I mean, even the best teams go through losing streaks.
Do
So,
we
and the
know?
fact, yeah,
Do we know when Erod's back yet?
uh, no, I don't think there's been a timetable on
There's not
that.
a date.
No,
I
same
was
thing with Riley
just
Green.
because we can't even trade Erod till he's healthy, right?
Pretty much. I mean, nobody's gonna take an injured
When did
player.
you say the deadline is?
It's around, isn't it July 31st? I think.
Okay, so there's plenty of time.
Yeah, I think there's time. But either way, um, as I was saying, the baseball season's long. A lot of things can happen from now till at any point in the season. The Tigers could turn it around, start to play the way they were playing, win some series, get back into it. I mean, the fact that they only lost was it, like 3 or 4 games through that 9 game stretch, uh, because basically the Twins were getting hosed down by the Rays and this division's garbage, is kind of crazy. Like if they win tonight, they're 5 games back.
Yeah,
So
a sweep
there's
would go a long way for as
a
far as staying afloat
yeah.
with till Riley Green gets back. It would help a lot, but
Hmm.
that still doesn't have a timetable either. Although
Exactly.
you looked up how long the injury takes, and you said like 6 to 8 weeks, I think.
Yeah, but I believe there was an update in his injury. It was instead of a tear or a stress fracture, it was only a strain. So I think that shortens it, and it's a better uh,
Better
time
possibility of
frame.
him coming sooner.
Yeah. So you never know. I mean, we have to watch the games, and I think all we can do is watch, see what they do. If they find themselves in a competitive position when Riley Green comes back, that'll make it interesting. See what they do. But if they don't, we'll probably get rid of some good pieces if we want to for the future, or maybe we just will stay stagnant. I don't know what Scott Harris's plan is, but it'll all be vindictive of that. So we'll see how they do in this upcoming week or two because you're playing the Twins, and then you're playing the Royals. So we'll see.
Odds do you think Alex Lane gets dealt?
It depends. I think he's a very hot commodity. I know I've been one to say I think you can, build a pen around him. Obviously, he's had his struggles recently. He came in last night, did his job, obviously in a non-stressful situation. But if you're getting a good enough deal for a relief pitcher, like it just depends. And I think the front office would be smarter than Avila was because I know if it was Avila, I'd be pissed already without even knowing who he dealt because it would
It'd
have
be
been
some
bad.
prospect that's in the double A right now. You wouldn't
That's
even
like
know what he'd be in two
exactly.
years, and then he'd come up and be Jake Rogers.
Yeah, for
No,
real.
no shade to Jake Rogers. If he
Yeah,
hits the ball, it's out of the park. If
that's
he doesn't,
wild.
it's an out. But
Uh,
but no, I brought that up because personally, I trust Chris Fetter.
yeah,
And I am all for giving him just a bunch of shit just so we can have batters because I know Federer will somehow make them good.
yeah,
Um, so that's just where I'm at. And if you can trade Lang and get a guy like, well, not a guy like, but if you can get a batter, and a really good batter, somehow you make some like Paredes type trade, but this time you're not on the wrong side of the stick.
post.
Like I knew from the instance the trade happened, and everybody was celebrating. That's the thing. That's the thing
That was
about
a
this
good trade.
podcasting thing.
I defend that trade.
I still have the text messages with you saying how I was pissed about Paredes being gone. And the funny thing is, as a podcaster and someone who puts their opinion out, no one ever gives you flowers when you're right, but they make sure when you're wrong to know that you were wrong. So, um, no, but I truly did love Paredes. I have the receipts, so if anyone wants some, I still have them. I just have to look in our text message from back in last year at this time. But,
Yeah, we
um,
avoided the Avila talk.
But no, I definitely trust this front office, and if we do make these trades, I don't want prospects anymore. I'm at the point, get me a current batter, get me a current young guy, such as Paredes, who's been in the MLB for a little bit. Maybe he hasn't been in
Yeah,
there, been there for a while, but at least been up here for a little bit.
a guy that's
Uh,
ready.
I don't want a Colt Keith, for example. Granted, I really want to see Colt Keith brought up, but I don't want to trade for some double A stud who might not be anything. You know, I
Sure.
want someone I've seen take professional at bats, how he approaches the plate, Um, does he does he stay disciplined in the batter's box? That's what I really liked about Paredes is no matter, he might have been hitting, I think he was hitting like 190 that one year. He had power and he didn't swing at a bunch of shit. He stuck to the strike zone, and I just had a feeling his time was coming. It did come just after Alavila made a dumbass decision and never gave him playing time. Like that trade happened like the year prior. He didn't play him at all after he had been brought up for a while. I didn't understand that. But
Well, yeah,
I'm
that
off
trade's
that. I
kind of
can't.
wishy-washy. Yeah. I mean, I could
Uh,
I could defend it a little bit because at the time, I mean, we kind of needed it, but that's
you
neither here
think
nor
you
there.
think the Rays knew? You think the Rays knew?
Definitely. I
Yeah, I
mean,
do too.
there's no way they didn't. I felt like at the time that trade helped us because Green got hurt, and you're like, oh my gosh, we need that other outfielder. So you go and get a guy, a Gold Glover, All Star type player, and you're like, okay, here we go, and then it doesn't play for you, and Isan Paredes just hits home runs, and you're like, oh, that's nice. But it's
And
typical.
he's
I'm
and he
used. I'm
still
used to
just
him.
hits home runs. I'm pretty sure if I go look right now, he still might have. I think he would lead our team in home runs right now.
He would. He
And the
would. He would.
funny thing is, comparatively, because he has more at bats than most of our players, because we switched them in and out so damn much. Um, he also has a better batting average than like at least last time I checked, he was hitting like 270. I don't know what he's hitting right now. It might be 250. I don't know. Batting averages kind of fluctuate with guys like them who hit for
Mhm.
power. They go on streaks and they get cold for a little while, then they go on streaks. So it might be like 250, but last time I looked, it was like 270. Um, but yeah. So I want the staff to go out do their homework with the young guy, someone similar to Paredes, where he's had half a season in the MLB already. You've got to see what his plate appearances look like, and truly can see in his game. Like this guy
Yeah.
has something. He's just still putting it together. I need guys like that. I need hitters. God damn it.
Yeah, we do need hitters. It's getting ridiculous. That's all I want is some. If you get some power, I mean, it even shows this week we've been hitting more homers. If you're hitting for more power, you're going to score more runs. That's doubles, triples, homers, whatever it is. Good power hitters are going to find gaps, are going to find, get it over the fences, and it's going to lead to more runs. So, I mean, that's all we need.
It's instant scoring position.
Exactly.
And when you get those bases loaded, maybe you don't have Miguel Cabrera getting in a double play. Like, like I love Miggy, but he just doesn't have it anymore.
He did
Um,
hit that homer, but his
he
first
did
one,
finally hit a home run. I did not think he was hitting another home run in his
wild.
career, to be
I didn't
honest.
think so either.
And when I seen it go over the bullpen, I was like, they might have juiced that baseball.
Dude, I'm fine with it. Bring on the juice baseball. If that's the point where we're at in the season for Miggy, the MLB is trying to entertain us, I'm for it.
But that being said, we got more news going away from the Detroit sports. So for a little bit, we're gonna end on some Detroit sports, but going away from it for a little bit, I want to talk about Tuck coming. Recently, Tuck he's finally landed a recruit. Reggie
Oh my god, he
Powers.
did.
Reggie Powers, four-star safety, depending on where you look. Um, so he's on the borderline of a high 3-star, low 4-star. Um, seen a little bit of his tape. I don't usually pay too much attention to high school tape. High schools they have so many divisions and whatnot. Like I just don't follow that stuff as much.
Mhm.
But sounds like he went to a very popular high school. He has connections. I'm pretty sure it was him I saw who actually, it might not have been him. I think it was the corner that also recently committed 3-star. He has a connection with the 4-star running back. I'm blanking on his first name, but his last name's Carey, I want to say.
Okay.
Um, he's a 4-star running back. I know he's heavily considering, I think, Ole Miss as well, or he's already committed to Ole Miss. One of the two, something like that. Anyways, going off of that. So hopefully there's another 4-star coming to Michigan State. For that running back room, more depth. They got a lot of talent in that running back room. They need to get that O line straightened out.
Yeah. They need
Um,
a lot straightened out.
yeah, but really need that O line straightened out. You get an O line, a
Helps, yes.
lot of things can be forgotten about on the offense when a lot of people have way more time to figure shit out.
That's true.
That's what makes Michigan football so good. They always have a beast O line. Um, and then Blake Corum gets all the praise. No, I'm just kidding.
Easy, easy.
But No, I'm excited about this recruitment. A lot of people are like late start for Tuck. I don't really look at it like that. I
Okay.
think the biggest recruiting is early fall. I think a lot of these players really make their true commitment when they see what the team is the year leading up to the year they're gonna go. You'll see a lot of decommitments. You'll see a lot of commitments, in that time, and that's why even the commitments we have now, I take them with a grain of salt. I think every school should. I
Yes.
think the trolling for a lot of this is stupid. I mean, wasn't it last year at this time Michigan was getting roasted for a bad recruiting class?
Yeah,
Am I
that's very true.
mistaken? And now all of a sudden they wanted to flip the script because things
You're
changed.
damn right. You're damn right. We're
So,
flipping straight.
so, I take this stuff with a grain of salt. Who knows? Will Reggie Powers be there come December? I mean, I hope so. I think so. But as far as like the number of recruits or the number of guys committed, you're bound to have two or three guys decommit and then a bunch of new guys committed by then. Even if you're having a good season, I'd still expect at least one guy to decommit for whatever random reason.
It
You
always
know,
happens.
everybody has a life. Things come up and things change, so people change their mind and whatnot. And with NIL today, you know, maybe all of a sudden freaking Miami's like, "Hey, kid, there's 5 mil sitting on the table for you over here." Oh, decommitted.
Oh, I'm gone. Exactly.
So, that's kind of why I don't take that stuff too seriously. But it is good to see, you know, four-star talent. You know, despite the recent failures of the program in the last year, that this four-star talent does still want to come to East Lansing. A lot of people forget in this 2023 recruiting class. It's like the best recruiting class we've seen like ever in franchise history, and we're upset because some dudes got decommitted. But like, yeah, it's still the best
Yeah,
recruiting
man.
we've seen at this program like ever. So I'm not panicking too much right now.
Oh, I'd be
Um,
panicking.
we just got to make sure, you know, Tuck has the right guys around. And I think that's where most of the panic comes. Is Hazleton really the guy? Probably not, but you got another year of him, so we'll see what happens. People
Yeah,
are upset because Keon Coleman's out, but like, come on, guys. The only thing
it's
that kid
over.
was good for, I mean, for real though, the only thing that kid was good for was over the top. He was not running no intermediate routes. If he wasn't running the go route, he was kind of like, come on, y'all. Like, he ain't even do that much. You guys just want that duo or whatever, but the year we were good, Keon didn't have a part in it. It was Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor and Trey Mosley. Keon was there in our 5 and 7 year as a number two. He wasn't even our number one. He was our number two. And yes, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, dude's trash. No, he has a lot of potential. I'll admit that. But he went to the best situation for him. Jordan Travis is a really good quarterback. He can extend plays, and I think he'll be really good over there. I think he'll in that offense he'll have a lot of opportunity because he has a quarterback who's going to be able to fling it. I'm not mad at him for leaving. It's more the way that he did it, kind of like clickbaiting, you know,
Yeah.
because his story didn't really line up with anything. You could tell he was talking the talk, which whatever. That's what we've come to, I guess.
Talk that
So
talk.
I just wanted to touch on that a little bit, because it's been a while since we really dug into Michigan State football. And then I don't know, am I missing anything about that program? I mean, Tuck's still throwing those house parties, still showing off the cars.
Working it is working. Working real good.
It's it's a good day in the office over there. So, I have not seen any cigars yet, though. I have
No, no
not.
cigars, man.
I'm a little disappointed. Maybe he
Tired of
suspended
that
the
shit.
cigars for a little bit till the winning comes back.
Yeah, you need the winning to get those cigars, man. Can't have losing cigars. You look like a loser at that point.
Oh, this is the other thing I want to touch on real quick, actually. There are so many people who are Detroit Pistons fans, who are also Michigan, Michigan just fans in general.
Mhm.
Doesn't just have to be football. Um, who hated, or I'll start here, who are upset at the media who say you overpaid for Monty Williams. He was a coach that just got fired, but yet you made them the highest paid coach. And a lot of their responses are, there's no salary cap when it comes to paying coaches. It doesn't matter. He's rich anyways. It doesn't matter. If the team wins and contends, I don't care if he's the highest paid coach, even though he doesn't deserve it, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't come out of our pockets. There's no salary cap. But when Mel Tucker got paid, oh, overpaid, doesn't deserve. And
Facts.
everybody's just like, bruh, it doesn't matter. It's a bunch of rich people who pockets ain't even hurting. They didn't even take a hit on the chin for it. Like they're chilling. They basically just bought a burger at McDonald's. Like
Pretty
it
much.
ain't nothing to them. And y'all acting like we got some salary cap and you want to talk mad garbage. But all of a sudden it's your team and it's nah, y'all overreacting. Who cares? Even if he fails, it doesn't matter. There's no salary
Well,
cap. We're not gonna get hurt by it.
if I think if he continues to just suck it up, and especially once USC and UCLA come over, uh, that'll definitely be a terrible contract in hindsight. But I guess at the
But at
time
the
they
end of
thought
the day, nobody cares.
I care.
Why do you
Uh,
care? You're a Michigan fan. If anything, it should care to us because then we got to buy two McCheeseburgers, not just one.
Nick cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
You know what? I could go for a cheeseburger.
You probably could go for that Mickey D's, huh?
I could go for that Mickey D's. Grimace's milkshake, dude. I'm all about that.
Nah, that's just nasty.
Oh no.
All right, we're moving on from the McCheeseburgers. We got Michigan football to talk about.
Damn right we do.
They're recruiting like crazy. According to 247 Sports, according to Jaren's my source from
Darren,
247 Sports.
damn right.
Um, he said Michigan has the number 2 recruiting class for
Yes.
2024. Michigan's
Yeah.
off to one hell of a start.
Yeah.
And overreact? Or are we
Overreact?
underreacting?
I think we're sitting right there pretty. I think it's pretty good. I think the start that Michigan's gotten, especially considering that Harbaugh's flirted with the NFL and we saw what that did to the 23 recruiting class, to back that up with what they're doing right now. Now, obviously, you go through so many commitment cycles. Like you said, there's going to be some decommitments. Some people might not feel that they'll be as involved as they once were
Blake
going to be.
Corum, man, he might be like pull Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then all of a
Yeah,
sudden y'all have a bad
yeah.
year. And then all of a sudden I'm going to Bama. I'm going to Ohio State.
I'm going
I'm
down.
going I'm going to Notre Dame. I'm
Notre
going to
Dame.
USC.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But anything can happen. That won't happen. But anything can happen.
That
Uh,
won't happen, are you sure?
I'm
I'm going to
positive.
Michigan State.
Okay, now we're just telling jokes. Um,
Uh,
but I think
I don't
it's
know.
pretty
Apparently
good.
Nick Marsh might be going to Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
I've seen some rumors, and I don't know. He's gonna go there, and then he's gonna be like, "Oh, this team sucks too," and then he's gonna come back to Michigan State.
Oh. Well, I think what the football program is doing is vindictive of why the recruiting class has been as good as it's been. You win back-to-back Big Ten titles. You beat Ohio State twice. You kind of prove that hey, we're for real. Players want to go to good teams, and Michigan also got a brand. They got the money. It's in this day and age, it's easier to assemble that class when you're doing that. Michigan's always not struggled. They've always been sort of top 10, but they were missing that season.
And they
So,
were top 10 with a cake-ass schedule.
oh, okay. You're
Still losing
boy.
to MSU, boy.
And not last year though. Revenge.
Last year.
Sweet.
Hey,
Sure.
a blind
Sweet.
squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, right?
Yeah, MSU did find that nut.
What do you mean?
You
What's our
know,
record against you in the last 20 years, boy?
let's
Don't
limit that.
even don't even go back to the 50s because for sure I wasn't born yet.
Look, I don't like to. I like to pretend that whatever happened to Michigan football post,
Post our birth.
no, not post our birth. Uh, but during the Rich Rod era and the Hoke era, I mean, that just stuff. Did that really
But
happen?
post your birth.
Did that really happen?
100% happened. I
Look,
remember it like it was
look,
yesterday.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. they're playing good ball. They're getting good recruits. You know, people want to join that. People are excited to be part of that, and I really like the direction the program's headed because, especially now that you're turning it over, you want to come into it with momentum. And if you continue to do that, you can establish yourself as big dog in the Big Ten. And that's exactly what Michigan has been doing. I hope they can continue it. I mean, I'm all for it. I think they're gonna have a natty type season. They're definitely
Yeah, they're
got
gonna be
me.
good. In all
Yeah.
seriousness, they're gonna be good. And I wanted to backtrack real quick, because I just think that's funny. I just thought about it and just everything clicked because we're talking about Michigan, which makes me think of Ohio State and all them big dogs because they're all big dogs and shit.
Sure.
Reggie Powers is actually from Dayton. He chose Michigan State over Ohio State,
Good shit.
which I
I
thought was
love that.
very interesting because
I love it.
it's not every day you see a high star recruit choose Michigan State over their backyard,
Hmm.
especially when their backyard is fucking Ohio State. So I just wanted to say that real quick. But also complimenting Michigan, they're gonna be dangerous this year as long as Blake Corum stays healthy. Honestly, even if Blake Corum doesn't stay healthy, Donovan Edwards, as you saw last year, he can do something. JJ in another year. Even if he doesn't develop into looking like that 5-star quarterback, like that star. Not even like Caleb Williams star, but like
Just good
just
enough.
like just like half of just like a level under guys like Stroud, Young, Caleb Williams, like almost even just like a Quinn Ewers. Like
Quinn
I don't even
Ewers.
know. Like even Quinn Ewers, I think is better than JJ. If I'm just being completely honest, I think
Mm.
if Ewers
Oh,
was
that's a
in your
take.
guys' system, I would like what Ewers would be doing right now. Um, so I think if he
Well,
just took that next level, like if he just became like a Kirk Cousins,
Kirk Cousins. Easy.
hey,
Vikings guy.
don't disrespect what Kirk Cousins did in college, all right? Hey, Michigan fans know more than anything what he could do. Come on now. He,
No,
he,
yeah.
he delivered them 4 L's, man.
Bro,
4
those
undefeated
those
against the
defenses were
Wolverine.
those defenses were garbage.
I do not want to hear it. He gave
Those
you
were
4 of them. So you guys
you're
should be blessed for me to say if JJ can be Kirk, y'all will be having something.
no,
Um,
he'll be better than Kirk.
if he's better than Kirk, y'all will really be having something.
We'll be
So,
cooking. Counter cooking.
so yeah, you'll have a Connor cooking, JJ. That's what you'll have.
Um,
Even though he was never better than Kirk, but
yeah.
but no, what Michigan got going on, it's definitely something special. I'd say the only spot I really see them weak once again is wide receiver.
Okay.
Last year a lot of them were kind of like pretty young, but you guys still don't have any household names. Which might also just be JJ's growth. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't really know what to point it on. You guys didn't have a quarterback before. Um, now
I
you
can agree.
do. How much is it on the wide receivers and whatnot? And then the other thing is the defense still, like, you guys lost some
Oh,
talented guys, in DJ Turner and Mozzie Smith.
true.
And I think you guys lost an edge, I believe you lost an edge to the
Yeah, we
draft.
did.
Um, that's all I think I'm missing as far as like key players. But
Yeah. I think the
but that
thing.
that defense wasn't as deep last year, and now it's just getting a little less deeper. So now it's really gonna be okay. These next guys need to step up. Makari Page needs to be a dog, and I know he'll be a dog because
Yes, he
I
was.
interviewed
Mhm.
him. So you already know he got that shit in him. I know he got that shit in him just from talking from him. Very chill dude. Definitely a fan of Makari. Not a fan of Michigan, but I'm definitely a fan of Makari.
That's good.
I support him. So, um. And I support the Big Ten, so I support you guys a little bit.
Oh,
That's why I'm out here talking with all y'all and just cracking jokes.
cracking
Um,
jokes.
but no,
What?
there will be guys who need to step up.
Yeah,
But that's every year. Every year,
exactly.
people like if you're good, people are gonna go to the draft and you got to replace them. If you're bad, you're replacing what you had. It's just an endless cycle of replacing new talent, and like we just said, Michigan has a great recruiting class coming in next year. They have a great one coming in this year. Not as great as next year's, but they still have a good
Yeah,
one coming in. So, um, I think, and they have good coaching. But
that's the big
that's
thing.
all I really needed. That's all I wanted to say. But I'll let you take over and finish this up.
Yeah, look, they got guys that they need to replace. There's some very big players that I'm looking to have bigger seasons. I think McGregor's going to have a solid season. I'm looking for a big season from Chris Jenkins. Um, Corners are obviously my biggest concern. Just looking at the overall roster was corners. I just blanked on his name, but we just got that cornerback from UMass, a grad transfer. He's got a lot of experience. He should definitely be a help. You got Will Johnson in there, who's going to be a star and eventually drafted at some point. I believe he'll be there with another year. As I'm getting texts that the Tigers are losing. Um, so I think there's holes for sure, or at least question marks. I won't say holes, but they can easily be answered. And I think with the coaches, they're working with guys one on one. They're because think about I thought about Mike Sainer still a receiver. We turned him into sort of a nickel for us, and I was like, okay, how good is he going to do though? He's just this wide receiver, and he was one of Michigan's best defenders last year. And that just goes to show that you can put a guy if they're willing to commit to the team and do whatever they can, they're going to get better at a certain position. And I think the coaches will put them in good positions to win. It's just a
You can
matter of
teach football. You can't teach athleticism.
exactly. But I think the offense is going to be solid. The run game should be just as good as it's been because the O line's just as good as it's been. You get JJ back. Cornelius Johnson coming back definitely helps the wide receiver core because, to your point, that's definitely the biggest question mark. Again, they don't really have those Ohio State type wide receivers, but you got some experience. You got Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson coming back. That's definitely huge, but you're gonna have to work with some new guys that we haven't seen before. Guys like Darius Clemens, and whoever else might want to step up. So it's really just a matter of we'll find out once we see it. But I like where they're at. I think they're in a good spot. There's hype around them for a reason. They're one of those teams that are coming in that have a good mix of veterans, young guys, and a lot of talent that's returning. So you know, those are usually the teams that can go the distance. There are some points in the schedule that could be tougher. Obviously, you got to go to Penn State. Ohio State's never easy. Michigan State's never easy, really, for Michigan. And a bunch of others. Even Indiana always gives Michigan fits for some reason. Don't know why. But a season football's tough, and it's tough to win games. And no matter how good you are, I've seen teams with a lot of hype that should be very good. You mess up early, and then late in the season, it's too late. Now, granted, Michigan's got some nice ease into it a little bit again this year. Not it's nothing
A
too hard,
nice ease
nice and easy.
once again. No, you guys legit don't play. I did like you guys don't play anyone till week 7, which is Michigan State, I believe. And we don't even know how good that team is, but I'm just saying you don't play them till then because it's a rivalry. And like even last year when Michigan State was not good at all, they still played you guys super hard for like the first half of football. Um, Granted, a lot of teams did that to you guys last year,
Uh-huh.
but it was really just field goal. Like even when you guys were getting towards the second half of the game, it was still
Yeah,
you guys were just kicking field goals. It was still close,
that was
still
annoying.
within striking distance. And that's just what that rivalry does. Honestly, it's
It brings
always
out the
close,
best in
no
both
matter
teams, yeah.
how
Except at the end.
bad that they are. Um, yeah, it's not. Well, that's usually every game, if we're being honest. Is
Yeah, that's true.
when you're just bad, and you aren't gonna win, that other team just ends up taking over in the last 8 minutes of the game or whatever it might be. But
Yeah.
I wanted to bring this up real quick before we change the subject. Um, do you think that 2024 Michigan schedule? I personally believe so. I don't know if you guys are gonna do it. Are you guys gonna buy out of that Texas game?
No
Because
way. I don't see it.
USC, UCLA, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State.
Here's a gauntlet.
That's a hard ass schedule. I think you guys are gonna buy out of it.
I don't think so. I mean, it's been set there. I mean, I don't think you turn down an opportunity either. I think
I
that's
would advise you guys turn out of it.
I mean, you can advise me, it's up to them. But I think it's always fun. to see those
That's the one
matchups.
time I wouldn't pick on you guys because I mean, I guess we'll see. Like, we have to wait and see what
Yeah,
UCLA is this year. Wait and see. Is Mel Tucker just consistently failing after this year? Um, what
I
is
mean,
Ohio State with their new quarterback? What is
exactly. You never
Penn
know.
State without Sean Clifford? So there is time to see things unravel, but when does it become too late to buy out? I'm not really sure. I don't know how last second that stuff can get. If it gets that last second, I have to assume it's gonna be some random freaking North Dakota
Let's go.
community college. I don't even know. Some some Montana State University or some garbage like that. That's what's gonna end up being if you guys end up waiting too long, which I don't think Michigan fans would be complaining. They like that easy schedule. Um, but no, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that year it's gonna be either third year Quinton Ewers, who I'd assume is going to be dangerous, or you're talking about second year Arch Manning, who beat out third year Quinton Ewers. So that
Yeah.
game's going to be hard,
We'll see.
really
It's
hard. And with that gauntlet already,
we'll
I'm
find
just
out
saying,
soon.
I don't care how good Michigan is. I do not care how good Michigan is that year. They are not making the playoff. Actually, I take that back. I forgot it'll
See?
be a 12-man playoff by
Love
then.
that
So
playoff,
so
baby. We
maybe
love it.
they might have a chance.
Oh, we
It'd
have a
still be hard to land top 12 after you play Texas, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State.
loss. You're gonna be losing a lot.
Assuming those teams are what they are and Michigan State continues to build. But we'll see what those teams look like by
Yeah,
then.
that's a
So
that's a discussion for a different.
yeah, I just wanted to ask you real quick if you thought there was a possibility they buy out of that.
Not right
But
now. We'll see.
I want to move on and talk about some big news that the Detroit Lions got. Tracy Walker posted on his social media earlier this week that he is now cleared for training camp. This is big news. A lot of people forget about this kid, and I consistently bring him up because I feel like a lot of people forget about this kid. Um, Tracy Walker, last year, if you asked any Detroit Lions fan, they would have told you Tracy Walker was the best defender on that defense. If you ask people now, they might be a little confused. They might just forget. They don't really remember way back when, a year, 10, 9 months ago. They might say Hutch or something. I don't even know. I don't know. Maybe Jerry Jacobs, even though he wasn't even playing then. um, they might say Malcolm Rodriguez because they like the name, they like the player. But it was undoubtedly Tracy Walker was the best player on this defense for the first 3 games of the season. You go back 2 years ago when we were 13-1, he was the best player on that defense. Um, and now he's still no, I'm just kidding. He's not still the best player on that defense, but no, he is still a baller. We'll have to see how he comes back from the Achilles. But this is big news because you're already looking at a stacked safety room, and a lot of people forget about him because they get distracted with Kirby Joseph coming on, and doing great things. Who came up to replace Tracy Walker because of his injury. And then they also, now you have CJ Gardner Johnson, who can be that box safety, which is kind of where I like Tracy Walker, which I think is another reason people forget about him is because they're like, oh, we got CJ now. We don't really need Tracy. But that's also not true because Gardner can be used in the slot and he plays a lot of slot and safety. So I think the staff will get very, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say
Great.
complicated, creative. Yeah, very creative with those two. That they'll kind of use them similarly. We already know that we've had Tracy get put on tight ends and stuff before, so he can kind of play a little bit of that slot, just not as much as CJ does. But he can play in that box. He can get matched up with the tight end. He can do that. So it's just gonna allow room for rotation, and you're really not gonna see a drop off like you would before when you'd see maybe it go from Tracy Walker to all of a suddenly you'd see CJ Moore walk on out to the field and you'd be like, ah, shit, here we go again.
Here
So,
we go again.
or even Will Harris, bro. Here we go again. You guys,
Um,
I don't know if you guys know, but my followers,
I'll go then.
But no, my Instagram followers definitely know I've never been the biggest Will Harris fan. The kid blocked me on Instagram when he was a rookie for simply saying that he needs a mentor like Eric Berry back in the day because Eric Berry was coming back at the time. So that gives you an idea of how long ago that was. Because Eric Berry hasn't been in the NFL for like 3 years now. But no, it's gonna provide so much depth, and you cannot underestimate depth. Guys are bound to go down. We would love to see this roster stay fully healthy, but the truth is, Hutch, Gardner, Jerry, Tracy, Kirby, Malcolm, Jack Campbell, Ali McNeil, one of them are gonna get hurt at some point, and you need that next man up under them to get you through those times. Those injuries are just bound to happen. Concussions, whether pray to God, I hope not. Some Achilles to somebody
Easy.
happens again.
We don't want to put things in the universe here.
Like I said, I pray to God, I hope not. But those bad things can happen. So that depth is massive because when you have a guy like Tracy go down, but then you know you're playing a team like the Bengals and CJ Gardner Johnson's that next man up or whatever. Because all of a sudden you're just gonna increase his role because he can do it. Um, and you're playing them and freaking what's that defensive end on their team goes down? They have nothing left on that D line. They don't got that depth that the Detroit Lions have. So so they're building a deep and fun and really good roster. And I think Tracy Walker is saying he's cleared for training camp. That's just one more reminder to show, you know, how talented this football team is going to be this coming year.
Yeah, they'll be exciting. Obviously, getting a guy back feels good. Means that he'll be ready to go, hopefully. And I know there's a lot of excitement. We've talked about the excitement. We feel the excitement. And, football season draws ever closer. So I think it's the Detroit team that'll finally relieve us of this ass that we've been having to deal with.
This ass playoff drought we've been dealing with. And
Yes.
I wanted to switch over real quick on a small
Yeah.
point that relates to this whole subject, and that is Hendon Hooker. He's been finally throwing. It's said that he's ahead of schedule, which is very surprising. I don't know if there's a different timeline than what his timeline was, but he said he was planning on playing in the preseason. I don't know if he just said that and his doctor was like, "No, you aren't," and there's a different timeline I don't know about, or if it's that timeline. Because if he's gonna be able to, throw a little bit before preseason and actually get some like decently real practice before real preseason, maybe we get to actually see some Hendon Hooker before the season starts. Because that may have nothing to do with, how the season goes, because hopefully Jared Goff just stays healthy and continues to perform really well. But I think we would all like to see, can Hendon Hooker, kind of look like college Hendon Hooker? Like, can he go
Yeah.
out and show out against some second stringers and, you know, run this offense? And even if he doesn't, you still kind of take it with a grain of salt because you're like, okay, he just came back from an ACL. He hasn't really got to practice much with these guys actually, throwing and going through the
Mm.
drills, and he's been off for a while. So there is like that I guess safety bag where it's like, okay, if things go bad, this thing's gonna catch me, and I can relax and know that he's developing, and that he just came off this injury. But then if things go great, you're all of a sudden like, man, we got Pat Mahomes behind Jared Goff. So this is really only good with that news, in my opinion. But I'm
Yeah,
excited to see that come to fruition.
definitely.
But that being said, y'all, I want to encourage you guys. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, honestly, this has been one of my favorite podcasts we've done so far. So, how about you guys go to the bottom of the video, drop a like, leave a comment, give me your thoughts about what Detroit sports is cooking up right now, what we got going in the college world in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
And let us know your thoughts, how what team are you most confident in turning the ship this year? Michigan does
Mhm.
not count because clearly they're already good. They were in the playoffs. But
Exactly.
out of the Detroit sports and Michigan State, which one is turning the ship the quickest? As you know, all of them are either rebuilding or coming out of this rebuild. However, you guys see it. Let us know in the comments. It was fun talking to you guys, and we look forward to next week.